Hello, good morning. Welcome to a live stream for DGST 101, a summer class at the University of Mary Washington. Kind of liking this song. I don't know, let it go for a little bit. My name is, that's not my name. My name is Zach Whalen. I'm the professor. If you're watching this, I assume you're probably in the class, but if not, you're welcome to watch anyway. And if you are in the class, I hope you're watching this either live or after the fact. So yeah, I should probably turn this down. I do like this. Still working through this cough here, but I'm ready to go and excited to talk to you today about several things and demonstrate several things. That's what today's main agenda is going to be. I'll just go down there. I'm going to be demonstrating a bunch of different things today, and I don't have slides. I'm just going to work through things. That's why you can see I've got my whole desktop here behind me, and I'm going to be using different software, show you how to use it. And what I'm inviting you to do today is practice two of the techniques that I've described as an option for the digital methodology projects. You should do something different than what I do today. In other words, like I'm going to give you some stuff to practice with, but I still want you to develop your own project over the next couple of days. So just to get that out of the way. Now, I'm going to talk to you quite a bit today. I'm going to demonstrate quite a bit today. So after I'm done recording, I'm going to upload this to YouTube, and I'll put timestamps for each of the major topics that I cover, so you can jump to those topics or tasks as you need to. All right, so that's the basic plan for today. If you're watching, it's always good to see who's here, so say good morning. Oh yeah, good morning. Hi, Sonia. You can say hi either in the live stream chat channel in Discord or on Twitch. Oh yeah, and I forgot to say, I have a friend with me today. This is a Teddy Ruxpin. I don't know if you all have ever heard of these or if you remember these, but this is a toy device. This is the kind of device that no one's ever worked on one of these for the object lesson project for this class, but it would be an interesting one to work on. I thought I'd show it to you all. I don't know exactly when these came out, but I remember going to someone's birthday party in first or second grade, and they got one of these, and it was like the biggest deal ever. This one, I see it's copyrighted 1985, which sounds about right for me in first grade. And then but this one also has copyright 1992, so this might have been like a later model. I don't really know. But the premise of these is that, like, okay, check it out. So this one does, I've got it, it kind of worked. I'll show you. Well, it worked earlier. So basically, so he's singing a song here. I don't know if you can hear. Let's turn him off for a second. He's got a little, I guess, motor, and the idea is that the premise is that he's singing this song to you. It's not just like, I mean, it's literally is a tape player. Like, he's got a tape in the back. It's a special type of cassette. But like as that tape plays, the idea is that his jaw is supposed to go up and down to mimic like him actually singing, and also his eyes do something. But those motors aren't working. So either the motors are stripped or broken or something. I think I would have to take his head off to figure that out. But it's got a bunch of screws. Like the back, it's just a bunch of screws. So it seems like this would be a pretty reasonable like access point to get on the inside and start working my way up to the head. But it seems it's all stitched together at the head, so I don't know if maybe, I don't want to try to. Okay, yeah, his head doesn't. I was hoping maybe his head was like screwed on and I could screw it off, but it does not actually seem that way. Although it does seem separate from the body. Anyway, I'll do some surgery on this later, perhaps. I guess I want to see it, move again. But I remember that was like mind blowing when I first saw this. It was kind of like kind of like before Tickle Me Elmo, before Furbies. It was kind of like the robot friend that you would have in your house, or you could have. There were others too, like the Nintendo made one that was like what was it called, Robbie. So I think there are other examples, but I remember Teddy Ruxpin. This one came from our neighbors. He's an older guy, and he has a bunch of his kid stuff, and he's gradually every now and then gives us stuff, and this was something he gave us recently, and I was like, yeah, I'll take it from Teddy Ruxpin. Okay, anyway, let me talk about some things that I'd like for you to practice today, and I'll show you quite a few different techniques. There are notes in the instructions and notes for today in Canvas. That's what I'm looking at here, and basically two kinds of things I want you to practice with, and that's cultural analytics and text analysis. And I'm going to show you the process kind of beginning to end with two or three different texts. And so you can see that, and you can try this yourself. I want you to try these. You can follow along as I'm doing it. That's probably the best way to do it. Or you can, if you're watching later, right, you could follow along and then pause the video while you're downloading or doing whatever else you need to. But I've provided quite a bit of stuff that you can actually just play with and do without a lot of processing in the files upload area for our Canvas course. And so that's what I would like you to do. So the two that I've got, let me just, let me start off by showing you how to download ImageJ. And I have it already here. No, here, I've got my camera reversed, but I've got it here, and I'm going to try to install it again just to show you what it looks like. But I'll first show you what I have downloaded here. And this is a technique. I literally just Googled ImageJ downloads, and then I came to this website, imagej.net/downloads. And this is a different URL than what I have linked in the assignment, actually. So maybe I should go ahead and update that assignment while I'm thinking about it. Is it here? No, I think I linked to it in the slides yesterday. That's right. Which probably, I mean, if you want to find this, literally Googling it is the best way to do it. But I'll go ahead and update it in the slides, since I did share these slides yesterday, and you might be referring to this. So let me find that and update this link. So there you go. So this is the right page to download ImageJ from. And it looks, when you get here, there are two versions. One's called Fiji, one's called ImageJ. I don't remember which one I already have installed on this computer, so I'm going to try Fiji and see how that goes. And if it works, you can do what I do, and you'll be fine. If not, you can try the other one, I guess. So Fiji, I think, is just a package of ImageJ. So it's ImageJ plus some other things. ImageJ is a very powerful tool. It runs on Java. It does a ton of different things. If you want to create the Z projection style visualization, like I showed you yesterday, ImageJ is the way to do it. So if you are interested in that, yes, there is a kind of steeper learning curve. There's a bit more to figure out with this, but that's what you have to do if that's the outcome you want. This is the only way to produce that visualization that I know of. So, it's not too bad, though. It's really installing some software and then working with the software. The software is not very intuitive, but I know how to do it, and I can show you. So here we go. This is, I already downloaded it before. I just clicked on the 64-bit version. I have a 64-bit computer. You probably do too. So download the right one for you, either Windows or Mac. There's a no JRE version. Huh, that's interesting, but we don't need that one. So what that does is it downloaded this zip file here, and I'll open this and take a look at it. This is what it looks like when you double click on it. Now, I'm showing you this way kind of slowly because when you download a zip file on Windows, you do have to unzip it before you can do anything with it. Some people don't realize that, and they try to work with it right here. You might double click it and think, oh, there's the thing I need, and double click it from there. But you really often can't actually work with it while it's still in the zip. You can tell it's still in the zip because the top of my window here says, over here, says extract, and extract all. If you see those tools, if you see those options, that means it's not extracted yet, and you can't work with it until it's extracted. I'm going to have similar advice when I show you how to work with large sets of images. You have to extract things usually before you can work with them. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hit the extract all button. It asks where to put this, and it looks like it wants to go to my desktop. That's fine with me. And oops, it opened twice for some reason. I think I just re-downloaded it actually. So anyway, I'll hit extract and then let it go. Okay, it looks like it is taking its time. Well, not too bad, but it looks like, I'm guessing because it has 939 items, this might actually include a sample data set because the ImageJ software itself isn't very big, but it might give you some sample stuff to process to work with it. So we'll see what downloads here in a second or two and then take a look. Okay, great. So this looks like the folder that got extracted. And I know they're kind of small. I wonder if I can make these bigger. I don't know if I can, but the one on the right is the zip. You can see because it has a zipper on it. That's the one I already extracted. Don't need that anymore, so I'll move it over here. The one that it created was this one up here. Yeah, I can't really make these icons bigger, can I? Can I make these icons bigger? Maybe I can. Let's see. Oh wait, I don't need that. Is there a way to... Well, I don't know how to do that, but maybe it's display settings? No. No, that's something else. No. Okay. You know, I don't care enough to try to figure it out. I'm sure it's doable, but I'm going to just hope that this is visible enough for you. This is a folder that says Fiji Win64, and that's the folder that I just created by extracting the zip that I downloaded. All right, so several steps in that phrase that I just said, but that's what I'm doing. And this is what it looks like. It has one file called Fiji.app in it, one folder called Fiji.app. I'm gonna see if I can make this bigger in here. I really just want to make this bigger. So I'm used to being able to zoom things in, but I'm sharing my whole desktop, and so I have to like change the way my desktop works, which is fine. Oh, maybe I'll just do large icons. That's better. Okay, so that's a pretty quick, easy way to do it. So one thing you might that you should notice here is that mine says Fiji.app, and that's Figi.app. And if you download this and extracted this, you might see it say just Fiji. And of course, this is Windows, right? There will be some differences on Mac anyway, but one thing that you should do, whether you have a Mac or whether you have Windows, really any computer, you should set it to display the file extensions. So on a Windows computer like I have, it's fairly straightforward in the sense that it's right there if you know what you're looking for. There's a checkbox that says file name extensions, and you want to keep that checked. It's going to show you the full information about the files. And as we're working on this project especially, it's important to know what kind of file you're looking at, and also to know what the full file name is that you're looking at when you look at a file. The file extension is the part that comes after the dot. So it's like my document.docx or .pdf or .jpeg. Those are different kinds of files, and they'll be operated on by different software. You need to know which is which and what's going to happen when you click on it, and also what the full name of the file is. So you need to show the file extensions, and this is how you do it. I also like to see hidden items, but that's less important. The main thing is you want to be able to see the file extensions, file name extensions, like it says up there on the right. On a Mac, it's in a different place. It's in like the Apple menu at the top left, and then Preferences, and then somewhere in there. I don't have the right dongle to connect my Mac today, but to the live stream, but it's at my office. I'm going to my office later today, so I'm going to get that, and tomorrow I can show you some of these things on a Mac in case you need to see it that way. The processes are the same, just some things will look a little different, and I do want to show you that, but I can't right now. Anyway, this is Fiji.app. This is what's been downloaded. And this is a file here, imagejwin64.exe, and I can tell it's an executable because it ends in .exe, and that means it's going to run when I download it. So let's see what happens. Oh, okay, great. Yeah, it works. Do I want to start the updater now? Nah, I'll do that later. Okay, so this is it. It doesn't look like much, but this is ImageJ, and it does look like it's the same software that I'm used to using, so I think it'll do what I want it to do for today. It creates several windows, and that's why I'm sharing my whole desktop today. I wanted to be able to show you all the different things that'll pop up as you're using it, but this is it. All right, so I'm going to create a Z projection, and to create that Z projection, I've already prepared some files for that, and I've also uploaded these files for you to try this on yourself, and that is, I have extracted a frame every second, 1 frame per second from the movie The Fifth Element. And this is a large, folder of these. It's 7,555 frames of the film. It's not every frame from the film. It's 1 per second, but that's going to be good enough for our purposes here. So I've uploaded this same set of images into Canvas. Let me show you where that is. And you can go to the file section, or it's linked from the notes for today. It's just called fifthelementframes.zip. It is a zip file, so you'll need to extract it. When you download it, it's going to look like this, fifthelementframes.zip. And to extract it, you'll need to double click it and then hit the extract all button like I did for the ImageJ installer. Same thing here. You need to extract all of the frames or you won't be able to use them yet. Okay, so to do what I'm about to do what I'm about to do, again, I've downloaded and opened ImageJ using the Fiji version of ImageJ, and I have a folder of all of the JPEGs from this movie, 7,555 JPEGs. Okay, so that's what you're going to need before you can proceed to the next step. And the next step is the one where Fiji is going to take over. ImageJ is just going to take over and do its thing, but I need to tell it what to do and let it run for a bit. So it's like this. You go to File. Can you see that? Okay. And then Import, and then Image Sequence. So this is the first step. File, Import, Image Sequence. It's going to pop up now and ask you to browse for the folder containing all these files, and you need to do a few things to change some settings here. Right, so you can browse for it if you need to. This is just a normal kind of file browser. You click around until you find the folder that you're looking for. In my case, it's in here, and I just hit select to save that choice. And then I need to change a couple things in the settings here. I want to use the virtual stack because that's going to use less memory. I want to change the type from default to RGB so I can get the full color version of these frames. For the movie in question, I am really interested in how color is used, so I want to make sure I get the full color version. And I do want to sort the names numerically because that's how I created them, and that looks pretty good. Okay, everything else looks fine. I'm just going to hit OK, and there they are. Now, it's opened all of those images, or it's opened a view onto all those images, and I have kind of a little play bar slider thing I can use to move through that image set, just to kind of verify that it has the files that I want. I could hit play, I guess. I could sort of look at it sort of second by second, but no real reason to do that. This is just a way to verify that, yes, it has the files that I am interested in analyzing. And now I need to do the analysis. So let me move this down here so I can see it a little better. Excuse me again. So with this set open, so again, you have to import the sequence first, and then now that that sequence is in the current memory of ImageJ, you can go to the image menu to do some processing with it. In this case, what we want to do is, wait, is it image? Oh yeah, so image, stacks, and then Z project. So, oops. There are other things you're welcome to play with, but this is the one that's going to produce that Z projection view like I showed you yesterday from Kevin Ferguson's article or Brian Wolf's project for this class. So image, stacks, Z project. And this is going to pop out with a few options. There are 6 different projection types. Some slices usually gives you the best results, and that's what I'd recommend. The other ones will use different rules to combine pixels. So basically think of the image as a matrix or a grid of pixels. At each point, it's going to combine that pixel at that point with that same pixel at that point on another frame, and the same pixel at that point on another frame, and so on. So remember, it's a Z projection. So this is like a 7,000 layers projecting toward you. And at each of those points, it needs to figure out how to combine whatever color value is represented in that pixel. And some slices is going to give you more contrast as a result, basically. So it's going to add up those colors to give you the total. So it's kind of hard to explain, but you'll see what I mean. All right, so there it goes, and now it's running. As you can see, it's running, and it's a progress bar. It's going to take some time. So I'm going to let that run over there off to the side while I do some other stuff. But when that's done, it'll show me the Z projection of the 5th element. Yeah, so that's how you do the Z projection. Now we'll see it out, in another 5-10 minutes or so, maybe 5 minutes. It looks like it's going pretty fast. But that's going to just do its own thing, and when it's done, it'll give us an image. Let me show you how to do something else with this image, this set of images while we're waiting. And that is using the IMJ tool. Now the ImageJ, I would say, because it's a more complicated and longer process, and it also requires a beefier computer, you may find that it takes too long or it's not worth doing. But this one that I'm about to show you, it's more likely you can do this technique. All right, so I have a tool that I created a while ago, and I've hosted it on my website. It's at zachwhalen.net/pg/imj, and this is a tool that lets you do some of the things that ImageJ can do in a web browser. And it's convenient because you don't have to download anything. The drawback are it's a little clunky to use. It's not perfect, and it still uses your computer's memory to process the files. So if you're running out of room, or on your computer if you're running out of memory, it can still be a challenge to work with. But should be okay for me to do this right now to demonstrate it. Okay, first of all, you need to pick some files. Let me slide this over a bit, and then choose the files you want to work with. So you remember I've extracted those frames already from the fifth element, and I will just select them here. So now this is a file browser. What you can do whenever you get to this view is hit Control A or Command A on a Mac, but Control A on Windows to select all of them, and then hit the Open button, and that works fine. What you should see when that's done is that you should see where it says Select Multiple Image Files. You should see 7,555 files, or whatever your number is if you use a different image set. Okay, so now that those are loaded, you can choose different visualizations. I've got settings for a barcode visualization, a montage visualization, and an image plot, and I'll show you all three of these. The barcode is maybe the most intuitive. It just takes every image that you give it, squishes it to 1 pixel wide, and then sticks them in order left to right, or I guess from your view, left to right, going that way. So it generates settings automatically based on what I've thought are the like most obvious choices in terms of these settings, but you can change them. I would say don't for now, for your first time anyway, just sort of see if it works the way you want. I'd also say don't use smoothing yet. I'll show you what that means after I've done it without smoothing, but doing it without smoothing goes a lot faster, so that's what I'll do for now. So hit Apply Settings, and then this is just a review to make sure that you're sure that that's what you want to do, and then you hit Do the Thing, and it does the thing. And the image it's producing also kind of looks like a progress bar, but there's a progress bar to show you how far along it is, and then when it's done, here it is. So this is a barcode image. This is a kind of visualization of this film, and this is a visualization that if you know the film in question, you can pick out different scenes or different patterns within it. Also, you can discover, I think, where you can observe things that you weren't that familiar with or that you hadn't thought about in terms of the film's composition at a color level and even just like in a time level, right? So just kind of visually looking at this, I have seen this movie, I know it pretty well. Right over here, I see this blue streak, which I think is probably the opera scene because of the blue alien who kind of really dominates that scene. I'm pretty sure that's what that is. It's just in my memory of the timing of that movie. It's been a few years since I've seen it, but I feel like that's about right. That's probably what that is. And you can see there's different scenes that have kind of a dominant set of colors or a dominant saturation sort of level. You can almost see in this area, it almost looks like someone's face is kind of occupying a fair amount of the scene. I feel like that's when Corbin and Lilu are getting to know each other. So maybe that's what that is displaying. I'm not sure. But this is the kind of observation you can make at this level. Really what's more interesting usually is comparing one movie's barcode to another movie's barcode, just to compare and contrast their aesthetic choices at that level. Anyway, if you like this image, you can click the download button. Sometimes the download button doesn't work, and I don't really know why. If it doesn't, you can also, so it worked in this case, it popped up with a file called .png. You can also usually right-click Save Image As, and that works. Worst case scenario, if nothing else, you can take a screenshot and then crop out the rest of the web page, and that usually works too. So whichever method you want, there's different ways to do it. Okay, let me check on my Z projection. Z projection is actually almost done, but I'm going to do a couple other visualizations first. So now that in IMJ, the images are already loaded. I don't need to reload them, but I'm going to change the smoothing. So this will be, instead of actually just taking each of those frames, those JPEGs, and then smushing them, now instead I'd like to see the average color of each. So this is going to be, so for each of those images, it's going to compute like what is the average color represented on this frame, and then that's the image that line vertically will have. I think for a movie that has a lot of vibrant color, a lot of times the average color will look really dull because all of the different vibrant colors are sort of canceling each other out when they average. But that's my prediction anyway, but we'll take a look and see. Okay, not as bad as I thought, but still pretty dull compared to, the original one without the smoothing, without the averaging. So pretty interesting looking, but not quite as colorful. And you can still see that blue band there for what I think is the opera scene over here on the right. There's a lot of purple here too in the front, which is interesting. I don't recall what that would be. but that's kind of neat. Okay, let's try another one. This one, dominant color is usually more interesting than average. And this says for each frame of the movie, it figures out, okay, what is the most popular color represented? So instead of saying like taking all of them and then just doing the math to even them out with each other, this is going to say, okay, if there's a frame that's mostly black, then it'll be black. If this frame has mostly blue, then it'll be blue, or whatever shade of blue or black or whatever we're working with. So let's see how that looks. I think this will be similar but brighter. That's my prediction. Oh, it looks like ImageJ is done with the Z projection, so we'll pull that up next. This one takes a little bit more time. The other smoothing options take more time because my software has to process the image, like each one of those 7,000 images, and then make a decision about them in terms of how to represent them on the screen. So yeah, this is interesting now that the blue didn't show up quite as noticeably in those scenes. I'm kind of curious about that, but there's a bright white line here and here, which is kind of interesting. So yeah, there's something there. I don't know. I mean, these are all kind of cool. So basically what you do with this is you decide, okay, does this look interesting? Can I learn from this? Can I make an argument based on this? Or do I just like it? Those are all the kinds of things that you can do with this sort of visualization. Okay, so those are the different options for barcode. Let me show you montage. Montage is actually really straightforward. It just takes every frame and then arranges it in like a grid. So you pick how wide or high you want those. 20 by 16 is the standard, format. I think this one actually was letterboxed, so it's probably closer to like 20 to 12. And then the number of columns just means how far over is it going to go before it makes a new row. This one, there's no real options for this one other than that. But it's another way. It's another way to look at all of a movie or all of some other image set all at once, and then sometimes you can see something interesting, sometimes not. But here's that blue dominating again, and this stripe here. It's just another way to visualize a large set of images like this. Okay, so the image plot is now. This is a tool I have some ideas to improve this, but it's pretty neat the way it is, or I hope it is anyway. What it does now, so it can calculate what is the dominant color or the average color. You can tell it which, I think, yeah. No, I think it takes the average, and then it will plot that. So it can calculate any of these properties: hue, saturation, lightness, value, brightness, luminance, red, blue, or green. It can calculate a number for each of those. And when you give it two different things to calculate, it'll plot that on a graph using those as the X and Y values in a grid to put those in that grid. So sometimes something like hue versus brightness, which is the default, is pretty interesting. So you'll see left to right different colors, and then up and down you'll see dark to light that way once this works. So let's try it and do the thing. So you'll see it start to fill in a pretty different way. So you're seeing, so you're seeing it fill in. So basically, you're kind of creating a 2D representation of a 3D histogram of this text, of all these images taken together. There are some things I would like to do that would improve it. One of the things you'll start to see is those like columns popping up. That has to do with the rounding error. Basically, there's like it's guessing, and then it ends up kind of guessing that like rounding up and down at the same time from two different sides. So you usually end up with something like this, where there's a lot on the left, a lot on the right, and then not as much in the middle. One thing I'm interested in doing is finding a way to, instead of looking at each frame as a whole and then averaging that frame, what about breaking that frame into chunks, and then you get a more detailed representation of the different colors that show up, because most frames in a film aren't going to be one color. They're going to be quite a few, and I think you get a better sense of the composition overall if you could isolate those. But that's going to take some time to program, and I haven't had time to do that. Anyway, so that's the plot projection, and this is also pretty interesting, I think. Okay, so here's the sum frames for the movie. It's finally done, and it looks kind of neat, kind of nice, kind of a soft watercolor look, which is not really what the movie looks like, but you kind of get a sense of it. Maybe, I don't know, you see some vertical bars that could be the credits actually rolling through at the end. You see there's kind of a lighter pinkish kind of sort of color in the middle, and there's sort of darkness near the edges. So you get a sense of the cinematography of this just by looking at this sum frame projection. And again, for the sum framing, you have to use ImageJ for that. My tool IMJ cannot do that. It takes too much processing. So, you know, your mileage will vary, as I always say, but that's how you do it. Okay, so that was some of the stuff you can do with image processing using both ImageJ and IMJ. Let me show this to you in a kind of front to back version. Like, let me show you how you would do this if you just wanted to do this from beginning to end, okay? So I'll do this for a different movie. This is To Kill a Mockingbird. I also have this uploaded here, and I'm going to show you what you need to do in order to process it with IMJ, and that's what I'd like for you to do today. So you need to download it from Canvas. You can get it to it if you go to the Files section of our course, or it's linked in the notes for today. So let me show you how to get to it from there, actually. So today is week 4, day 2, and it's right here, To Kill a Mockingbird. You can click on it that way, and then click that to download it. Yeah, there it goes. So hopefully this won't kill my bit rate on the stream because I'm downloading a rather large file, but we'll see once it gets here. Okay, that wasn't too bad. And it is a zipped file, as you can see. So you can see because I have the extract button, which means I can't work with it yet. There is a folder in this called Frames Smaller. That's just what I guess called it whenever I created this. And you'll need to just hit the extract all button. It asks you where to extract it. I'm going to put this on my desktop so it'll be easy to find. And just let it go. This one has 7,753 images in it, and this is a black and white film, so the images are going to look different, and they're going to process a lot faster because there's less calculation for the different tools to do. Not much to do while we wait other than wait for it to be done. I am going to show you a couple more things related to movies after I do this. But this is the part that I want you to do on your own. Got kind of cloudy. I think there's a chance of rain later, but it doesn't really look like it right now. It just looks cloudy. It's this tiny Ruxpin. I don't know if you can hear the motor like grinding or it's trying to move his mouth open. No, it's not. It's just singing a happy song about discovering the world. It's not scary. Okay, so the movie's downloaded. The frames they've extracted now. Let me see. Here they are. So this is this folder called Frames Smaller. I can double click this just to verify that this is now all of the frames from the movie To Kill a Mockingbird, and just kind of scrolling through it verifies that that's what that is. So let's do it in IMJ first. This is in my web browser still. Remember, this is how we get to this tool. And to clear out the memory, right? So it's got the 7,000 images from Fifth Element right now. To clear it out, you just reload the page. And if you reload it, it just resets everything back to the blank slate. So let's choose the files and browse to the appropriate directory. Again, you can do Control-A to select all the files. You can also select select the folder if you use this button. That doesn't always work in some browsers, so I recommend the other one. And then apply the settings for the barcode and do the thing, and then let's take a look. It's a black and white movie, so there's a different kind of information that you'll see, but you can definitely see something. Like, you can definitely see the basic structure of this film. For one thing, you can see that there are at least 3 scenes that I believe are probably set at night, possibly 4. And you can see because you got these dark sections of the frames. You can also see, this is kind of interesting right here. I don't know, I guess I can't zoom in on it, but there's like a sort of a horizontal looking streak. That means that there was a long shot or several shots of the same view, and so you'll see them kind of streaking along like that. That might be the courtroom scene. So that's something that kind of shows up at this level, which kind of signifies its importance to the film, and it kind of gives you a clue that, hey, maybe I should look at this point that occurs about 2/3 of the way through the film. I mean, it kind of just draws your attention to that point. So that's what so do this, but try different views, right? And this is the basic barcode, but try different visualizations. Share whichever one you like or that you produce in Discord and say, hey, this is what I did, and here's what I think is neat about it. Or you can do the fifth element, either one. But I'd like for you to use IMJ. It's like, I know how it works. ImageJ is a little bit more complicated. It doesn't always work for everybody, so that's where I'm not going to require you to use ImageJ, but I do recommend it. I think it works nicely. Okay, now. Let's say you are thinking about using one of these for your project for digital methodology this week. I want you to do this on some other image set besides the ones I've provided. So I want you to find your own image set, and there are a couple of ways to do this. Let me show you what one thing you could do as a set of images. I happen to have a couple of things here available. So this is a comic book, or really several comic books in the Inkle series. I picked this one actually sort of on purpose today. The Inkle is a graphic novel produced by, what's his name? Jodorowsky and Jean Giraud, who is known as Mobius. Giraud was I don't know exactly what his role was, but he was one of the designers whose work influenced, and I think he did work on The Fifth Element. So there is a sense in which the Inkle, which is a graphic novel, looks sort of like The Fifth Element. If you know, there's that movie Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets or whatever. Not a great movie, but that movie was a adaptation of the Inkle. Like, it was a direct adaptation of the Inkle, which is this text that I'm looking at here. So this is what you get if you do a barcode of a series of comic book pages. Basically, that's what I'm showing you here. So when you think about the barcode, when you think about even the Z projection, you can do any image set. Like, I've had students download their Instagram archive and take all the images from that and then do stuff like that with it, and that's pretty interesting to look at. It doesn't have to be a movie, right? I just think movies are usually pretty interesting. You can do something else. So let me show you though how you might want to, if you do have a video, if you have an image, if you have a video that you want to work with, a couple of things you can do with that. First of all, you're going to need to get a digital copy of the movie. I'm not going to show you how to do that. I'm not going to show you to get a copy of how I got my copy of The Fifth Element and To Kill a Mockingbird, but there are ways to do that. If you can find something on YouTube, there is a way to do that that's pretty straightforward and not necessarily illegal, which is to use it's a tool called YouTube Download, or just YouTube DL. I have it here on my desktop, and I'm going to show you I can show you how to use it. I guess I need to find a video on YouTube to download first. Oh yeah, I was going to look at, so I've been reading Wuthering Heights, so I thought maybe I could do something with this. So yeah, so here's what is this? Okay, this looks like a version of Wuthering Heights. I'm not sure if this is a good one or not, but it is a version of the movie Wuthering Heights. So I'm going to download this and I guess run it through the thing. I mean, I'm just kind of looking through it. This looks like a made-for-TV version, just based on the. This looks like video, not film. Okay, well. Probably won't be very good. I mean, as an adaptation, it's probably not great, but it's got Richard Burton in it, Patty Duke, you know. But basically, the point is, I want to show you how you can download a movie from YouTube. There are websites you can use this. You can do to download a movie or download any video that you find on YouTube. But I'll show you how to do this one. So you're gonna need the URL, the actual unique URL for this image for this video. So it's youtube.com/watch?v = blah blah blah. So that's why I'm going to keep this here. And then the tool that I'm going to use for this is a command line tool. It's called YouTube DL, and I'll open my command line here, and I can make this bigger so I can see what I'm doing. This is the command line on Windows. Command lines, or the terminal is what they call it on a Mac. This is how you can access things at a lower level on your computer. It's a good thing to know how to do. I don't have time to do a full explanation of how to orient yourself in this here, but I'll show you a couple of things. Whenever you are in this environment, you can see that blinking cursor there that's showing me that it's waiting for me to type something, and I can type something here. On Windows, there's a few basic commands that are really useful. The first is dir, or dir, I guess, and that just shows you the location that you are currently in the command line and all of the files that are listed at that location. So this is what printed when I hit typed dir. There's a bunch of files and folders that I don't actually need. I'm trying to navigate the command line pointer to the desktop because that's where my YouTube DL executable is. And I can see that the desktop is in the list of folders that printed when I typed dir. That means I need to go down into that. So think about folders as like a hierarchy, like you can move up and down in the staircases of that. So right now I'm in the root level of my account. So to move into another folder, I type cd for change directory. You can also type chdr and type the name of the folder you want to move into. So now I have moved into desktop, and I can tell actually because the part to the left of the blinking cursor says C users ZachW desktop. That's showing me my location, and names are locations on computers, and so that's telling me I am in this place, and I can see the things that I can see visually right here on my desktop. I can see them also if I type dir. This is what it looks like to the command line. Now the command line sees a few other things because I actually have more desktop off on a different monitor that you can't see, but most of the things that you see here you should recognize, right? So there's frames smaller, there's that folder. Here's the Jodorowsky and Mobius folder. Here's the fifth element folder. So all that stuff is there. The one I'm actually interested in right now is also here. Yeah, so it's a file, youtube-dl.exe, YouTube downloader. I'll show you how I got this file. It's an executable, so you always want to be careful downloading executables, but this one's okay, I promise. So it's at youtube-dl.org, and you've got, just sort of gives you the downloads right at the top. The first one is, what is this one? I guess that's probably the source or a binary. But the exe is an executable that will work on a Windows computer. So you click that and then download it. You'll probably get a warning because usually you shouldn't download an exe directly from a website. But this one's fine. So, download it. And then once you've got it somewhere, you'll need to browse to it in a command line like I did. And then you need to use it. So to use an executable file in a command line, you just type the name of the executable that you want to use. In this case, it's youtube-dl.exe. And then this is software, and the software here expects the URL. So it wants to know what URL should it download. I'll just copy that. There are a number of different settings and options and things you can do. Let's see, how do I paste in here? I forget how to paste in Windows command line. It's usually right click, isn't it? Usually you just right click. There it goes. So right click paste in a command line. I don't know why, but that's what I did to paste that in. You can also type it. You don't need the whole front part of it. You just need the P, in this case the ID, which is like in this case P-JH blah blah blah. So theoretically you could just type that, and then it's going to do its thing to download this. It has different settings. This one is going to download it at pretty high resolution, unfortunately, 1.23 gigabytes, and it's going pretty slow right now. This is actually telling me it's going to take about 6 hours to complete, which I definitely don't care enough to wait that long. So I'm going to kill that process. Control-C will kill a process if you're running it in a command line. So now, if this was a movie I really cared about, I would probably just set it up and leave it running overnight, and then I'd come back to it tomorrow. If there is some movie that you find and it's on YouTube, or some other movie or other video on YouTube that you're interested in and you'd rather not deal with YouTube DL, I can do this for you. I might have advice about it, or it might be a different way, but I can probably do some of this stuff for you if you're uncomfortable downloading things like this or whatever. But that is a process that is doable. That's the main thing I wanted to convey. All right, so there's a similar and actually sort of easier process on a Mac, which I can't show you. Like I said, I need to actually get my Mac to plug it in. I need to get the dongle that I need to plug my Mac into this PC so I can stream it, and I don't have that right now. So that is a way to get a video from YouTube if you would like to do that. I don't at the moment, so I'm going to leave that alone. Okay, the other thing that you'll need in a command line context is something called Ffmpeg. And Ffmpeg is a very, very powerful tool. It can do some pretty amazing stuff. So Here's what I mean, Google how to install Ffmpeg on Windows. That's what I did, and I'm DuckDuckGoing it, I guess. And let's see, this might work. This is the WikiHow, and this probably works. I would say probably because I didn't follow these exact directions, and it's got a lot of steps in it. So yeah, this looks like it'll work, but the steps I followed were shorter. This one here, which says geeksforgeeks.org, and I can show it to you. So basically, you need to download it. You then run this command. This command here actually, I think, accomplishes everything on the last 5 or 6 steps here. It just makes it software that you can use in the command line from anywhere in the command line. So I can type ffmpeg here, even though I don't actually have the executable installed in this directory, or I could run it in a different location, or whatever. So I just noticed my head's covering the part of that there. Let me move this over here. So Ffmpeg is the tool that you use once you get a video file to extract all the frames from it. It's kind of one of these things. It's going to look sort of esoteric and magical until you know what's actually. Oh, how do we clear? I guess that's a Linux command. Once you know it, it's easy. But until you don't, it just looks like garbage. But it actually does work. So let's say I wanted to. Let me go back to my desktop here, CD desktop, and go to where I have the fifth element and show you what I did to extract the frames. I'm going to make a new folder here. The command is makedir, or mkdir. I'll call it more dash frames, just to kind of show the process here. And that's going to make a new folder in this folder. So you can see this is the folder I just created, where it says more frames. And now I'm going to run a command with ffmpeg that's going to extract frames from this file, fifthtelement.mp4. Let's do ffmpeg-i. -i is going to be an argument that expects you to tell it what file to work on next. And so that's fifth element. -r is rate. So what is the rate of extraction that you're interested in? When I did this before, I did R1, meaning extract 1 frame per second. If I did R12, that would extract 12 frames per second, and that would produce, about 100,000 frames, and I don't want to do that, certainly. You can also give it decimals. So I want to say 0.5, meaning extract a frame every 2 seconds. You can do 0.3 to get one about every 3 seconds. You can do different options here. And then the final part is you need to give it a naming pattern. So in this case, it needs to start with the name of the subdirectory that you're putting it into, and then come up with some kind of pattern. I usually just use img dash and then %05d.jpg. The %05d is going to automatically be transformed into sequential numbers, and so everything else will stay the same the way it is, like the img dash and then the .jpg, but the %05d is a placeholder that tells ffmpeg to start at 0000001 and then make the next one 00002 and make the next one 00003. It's going to be a 5-digit representation of a number in sequence, leading with zeros to be 5 digits long. So hitting enter and letting that run. I'm not going to let it go all the way through here. I don't actually know how long it'll take. It may take 10 minutes or so. But you can see now that this folder is now being filled in with those frames that it's extracting for every 2 seconds of the movie. Okay, so again, this is a command line. So Control-C or sometimes Control-C doesn't. Yeah, it did. Hit Control-C a few times to actually kill it. But that's what I did there. I don't actually want to run this right now. But that's how you do it. That's how you do it with Ffmpeg. I really recommend you at least try to install Ffmpeg on your own computer and try to do this yourself. I can do these things for you to some extent, or I can show you how to do it on your computer. Probably, we would need a video conference to really walk you through it, because sometimes computers are different and you've got different things you've already set up. But I really recommend having Ffmpeg. I mean, it's a pretty convenient thing to use. Now, there's a different process for installing it on Mac. It's actually a lot easier. So I can just point you to that if you want, but I can't show it to you right now. But if you go to brew.sh, So this is the website for a product called Homebrew, which is a command line package manager for Mac. And it's really convenient. To install Homebrew, open a terminal, then copy and paste this line of code in there, and then it'll run its own, do everything it needs to install itself. It takes a while sometimes, but it depends on what's already set up on your computer. If it's not, like if it needs something that's not already there, it's going to have to download it and set it up. So it may take, 20, 30 minutes sometimes. Let it run, and then once it's done running, you can install something with it. Like in this example, they're showing you how to install a program called wget. Wget is a super convenient thing to have on a Mac when you're working at the command line. But Ffmpeg is also. So in this case, the command here says brew install wget to install wget. So it's very similar to install Ffmpeg. It would just be brew install Ffmpeg. And then it does its thing, and then once it's done, you can just use Ffmpeg from the terminal whenever you need to. Okay, so I know today's stuff I've been covering is pretty complicated. A lot of this stuff I do recognize that most of you probably won't do, and you probably don't need to. I just wanted to show you what's possible and offer my assistance if you do want to figure these things out, and if you can't, based on my admittedly fairly quick demonstrations today. So do your best with it, but at least I want you to download the frames from To Kill a Mockingbird and The Fifth Element, and then try to run them through this tool here. You should be able to do that without a lot of complicated setup or anything. It should just kind of work. And if you think that that's a really compelling visualization, or if you like that process and you want to try this on your own videos or your own image sets, that's where these more advanced things would be helpful for that. And I can help you with that if you need to. This is what the troubleshooting channel's for in Discord. So please use that to ask those questions. Okay, so the other thing today is not going to take nearly as long, and that is working with text analysis. So looking at the, so let's look at it. This is, I uploaded today, I uploaded the text of the book Wuthering Heights. Like I said, I'm reading this book. It's interesting. This is one of those books I've never read before, but a lot of people read it in high school. I, for whatever reason, was never assigned it. And so I'm reading it now as an adult. I found it kind of interesting to do that. It's interesting. It's a lot funnier than I thought it would be. On the one hand, there's also a lot more racism than I thought there would be. So that's kind of interesting. And it's at the point where I don't know if is it sort of the author's latent racism, or is it the characters? And I don't think this is a spoiler to say that the main character in the book is Heathcliff, and he is described by various other people as dark skinned, dark complexioned, and there's a certain set of characters in particular that assume that he's basically evil because of his dark skin. I think those characters are meant to be buffoons, or you're not supposed to like them as the reader. So I think that's what's going on there, maybe, but I don't know. There's a lot of, there are layers to unpack with this book, I think. Anyway, this is I've got it on here. And you can click this to download it if you'd like. You just click here and then download. And this is going to download a plain text version of it. Let me put this on my desktop. And this is a plain text version of it that I've already prepared, and it's ready to go. I'll show you what I did to prepare it, but it's literally just every word in the book. It's got, I guess, chapter 1, so it must have chapter headings. But other than that, it's just the text that Emily Bronte wrote. And so that gives us something to work with in Voyant Tools. So I'd like for you to try this. Download this file. It's called heights.txt. And then go to voyanttools.org. And here you can upload this tool. So upload this text into the tool. So you go to upload. You go to upload, find the file in question, which is in this case heights.txt. And then it's going to upload that file. It's going to process the corpus, and then it's going to give you these various visualizations of it. Like I showed you briefly yesterday, there are lots of different visualizations, and it's often interesting to try different ones in these different windows. I think that the word cloud is the most intuitive. I think the trends is also pretty good. You have to kind of decide, what am I looking for, basically. And in this case, I am kind of curious about a few things in this book. I have it on I'm actually listening to the audiobook, so I can actually look up how far I am through the book. I feel like I'm 15 to 20% of the way through it. I don't need to look that up for sure. So that means I'm through maybe segments 3 or so. And over here on the trends, let me kind of break this one out. So this, you can turn on and off the different words that are showing up here. You can also have it look for other words. It just picks the top five automatically, but you can actually say, I want to look for some other specific word, like, how about the word dead? I feel like there are people who are going to die here. So let's see, or have died. And you can see that that word does have a particular kind of curve. This is actually a pretty interesting curve. It shows me that, let me make this, I can make this a little bigger just right here. There's other things I can do to make it easier to see this, but let me just do this for now. This is the way that the word dead occurs throughout the book, or the ratio of it occurring. It's divided, the tool has divided the book into 10 arbitrary sections. These aren't chapters. It just shows you, like, percentage-wise how far along are we when we're talking about this book at the word at this point. And these are relative numbers. These aren't raw numbers. So that means that the way that the amount of times the word dead or variations on it in section 5 it's about twice the amount of times that occur in sections 4 and 2 and 9, and that kind of indicates that something significant involving someone's death is going to happen about halfway through. That's interesting to me. That might almost be a spoiler because I haven't got that far in the book, so I don't know. I mean, certainly there are things that seem kind of threatening, and so I don't know, maybe that's going to be something. This is also described as a love story, you know, so you can look for the word love too. Hopefully you can see this okay. On the pop-up there, it has the word love with an asterisk after it. That means that it's going to, it's like the asterisk is like a wildcard pattern matcher, so it's going to also match words like loved and loves and lovely and lover and that kind of thing. So I didn't want to see just that by itself. So if you look at how these two words interact with each other, that's actually pretty interesting. So I don't want this one anymore. I just want love and dead. Check out segment 3. Segment 3 showed us something really interesting, whereas it has almost no occurrences, maybe 0 occurrences of any word derived from dead. It has the most occurrences of the words derived from love. I mean, again, I haven't read this whole book. I have a vague sense of the plot, like the overall plot. I gather that it is a tragic love story, that things are not going to end well, mainly because it's told most of the story is a flashback, and in the present tense of the story, Catherine's already dead. So, you know, I think that we're going to get their love story maybe in segment 3, but she's going to die, so that's what's going to happen in the rest of it. But that kind of tells me, again, something about the plot actually, which is kind of interesting. So this could be an interesting view to talk about if you like this one. There's others, and I showed you some of these yesterday. One of the things I don't care for in Voyant Tools is, like, it has so much that it can do, but it's sometimes hard to find. And there are icons in each of these windows that only appear when you hover over that little gray bar at the top, but you need those sometimes. So they kind of hide, and I in the notes for today, I actually showed you a picture of what those things look like so you can find them. So to change what appears in any of the little windows, you look for the icon that looks like a window, and you click on it, or it looks like the Windows like operating system icon, and then you can switch to different tools. So try different tools, see if you find something you like. Correlations is interesting. Co-locates is also, so let's see. Yeah, since I found this interesting relationship between dead and love, there might be something to do with there. Another thing you can see, by the way, is the word Mr. shows up, or MR, quite a lot, and that's not really that interesting because obviously it's Mr. Heathcliff, Mr. Linton, Mr. Earnshaw. Those are 3 major characters. Mr. Lockwood, these are characters' names, and so of course they're going to show up a lot, you know? So Mr. isn't that useful because it could be any of them. So what I want to do actually is exclude Mr. from the words that it's searching for. So you can see actually it shows up here as one of the most frequent words. So to do that kind of thing, you can change the options, and there's this little toggle button. It looks like an on-off switch. When you click on that, it gives you this pop-up to change what are called the stop words. The stop words are words that it's going to ignore, and in fact, it's already ignoring a lot of words automatically. I can't make this very big, but it has a lot of very common words in the English language that are just automatically excluded. Things like am, always, and These are words that occur so frequently that it's not interesting to show you a word cloud representing how frequently they show up. Because like the word "and" is one of the most common words in English. So of course it's going to be a big word "and," but that doesn't tell you anything about the book because that would be true for every book. So it's included in a list of words called the stop list that just are automatically going to exclude that. And you can edit this. So you can add your own stop words here. So I'm going to add Mr. And I'm going to apply this globally, and then that's hopefully going to update it. Yeah, so it now excluded that. And I've got a few words here that I think are still pretty common that I might want to exclude, like said and I'm. But that's, I can play with that, and you should too. Like play with the different excluding different words to see if you get different kinds of things in your visualization. So Cirrus is the name of the word cloud. Earlier when I did it, it had the word MR, Mr. quite large, but I have eliminated that now, so it's no longer here, and I can see more specific things, more content-specific things showing up instead. So there's a lot you can do with this. I recommend playing around with it. What you should do once you've found a particular visualization you like is share it with us in Discord. Use the share channel for that. The way to do that is using the arrow thing that looks like a square with an arrow going out of it. I like this particular thing here, this particular view. So I'm going to hit this button. It looks like a square with an arrow coming out of it. And you can export it a couple ways. You can export it as a PNG, and that's going to give you an image of it. That's probably the most solid way. I'll just try this first. What it does is it actually converts the PNG into HTML code, which you don't really need. It's actually easier to just right click and then save as, and then you've got the PNG. I'll call this trends.png. And this is now that image, right? So the PNG that was created there, that's what it looks like. It's a little weird, so let me show you that again. So you go click the share arrow, then you say export visualization, and then click export a PNG of the visualization. You might want to adjust the scale actually. And then when you hit the export button, you've got this view of it, but you don't want the code here. You want the image itself. So right click, save image as, and then that gives you the view of it. It's taking time here. This is actually the same mechanism by which you download images from IMJ. It just sometimes it gets hung up a little bit. So that's how you would export it. The other thing you can do, this is a little bit less reliable, but you can also go to go here again to the export, and you can actually export different views of it. This one right here works the best. So if it's actually just the title where it says a URL for this view. If you click on a URL for this view, you get just a URL viewing it. This is kind of like when you had the unique URL for your timeline rendering from last week, the object lesson. And this is a very long URL, but it includes all the data that it needs to create this particular visualization that before was just in the top right. But here's this visualization by itself. And it's interactive, so you can hover over different parts of it. This visualization is pretty straightforward, but others are more complicated, and sometimes you really need to view it in its own window like this. So this is a super long link that you could then share. Now the only drawback to this one is that these have to be hosted on the Voyant Tools website. So at some point Voyant Tools will recycle the corpus, and so the corpus has this unique token right here that identifies it. It will it'll go away after a while, and so you might click on this link in the future and it won't work, and that's just because they've deleted the corpus. In that case, you'd have to re-upload the corpus, and then you'd be able to work with it. So interestingly, the download, this PNG did finish downloading. Let's say bigger trends, because I tried to experiment with the scale slider there. And okay, yeah, that's bigger, but the resolution looks terrible. So, okay, it's bigger, but they didn't change the resolution. Okay, fine. But it's okay, it doesn't matter. This is the easier way to see anyway. All right, so that's what I would like for you to do this. I'd like for you to play with the text version. I'd like for you to play with the images. If you are interested in doing the text analysis for this module, let me show you how to get the text of a file and then clean it up a bit. This is something that won't take very long. I realize I'm getting long on time here. So if you're looking for literary books, Gutenberg.org is the best place to find these. You can find lots of them here. Since I've looked at a book by the Brontes, let's take a look at Emily's sister's book, Jane Eyre. Jane Eyre, an Autobiography by Charlotte Bronte. And this is another, obviously, I guess you'd call this romantic era novel with Gothic influences, and it's it's by Emily's sister, so maybe they write similarly. It might be interesting to compare them in Voyant Tools. But here's what you do to get this. So there's lots of ways. Gutenberg provides several different versions of this. The version you need is plain text UTF-8. So click on this link, and then this takes you to the plain text UTF-8 version of this file. And here it is. Looks pretty similar to what I already have for Wuthering Heights. So I need to save this file. So I can right-click Save As, or I can just do Control-S to save this file now to my computer. I'll put this on my desktop, but notice that it's a number, so it's 1260-0, but I don't want to have to remember that, so I'm going to rename it as I download it. So it's Jane-Eyre, Jane Eyre.text, and there we go. Now I'm going to open this file that I just downloaded, and it opens automatically in Notepad. I'm on Windows here. It'll probably open in Text Edit on a Mac. Either one's fine. Then what you do here is, what you need to do before you run it through Voyant is delete some of the metadata. So this part here at the beginning where it says started the Gutenberg ebook, everything before that is not the book. It's information about the book that is included because it's hosted on Gutenberg. So you can delete all that. And then at the bottom, there's another big chunk of text that is also not the book, but is included because it's hosted on Gutenberg. It's the big legal boilerplate. So you also need to delete that. Basically, start at the bottom and then scroll up until you see end of the Project Gutenberg ebook Jane Eyre, or whichever. And then you can select all that and delete it. Just make sure you save it, right? Because it's I made those changes, so Control-S to save it, or File Save to save it. And now I've got a file that I can load into Voyant. So Voyant here is already loaded Jane Eyre, but if you click on there's like a house icon at the top right. If you click on that, you can start over again and then upload your file. So here's Jane Eyre. I'm kind of curious now to see what it does. I did read Jane Eyre when I was in high school, but I don't remember it very well. So I'm kind of curious to see, like, I don't really remember the plot. So let's do another. So, okay, that's sort of interesting. We've got a pretty similar graph for the word dead compared to Wuthering Heights, as far as it's really low at segments 3 and then 4 in this case, and then there's a peak in segment 5 right near the middle. That's interesting. How about the word love? Okay, so different. In this case, love just kind of keeps going upward. I think this one might be less of a tragedy than Wuthering Heights. I mean, I think if I remember correctly, it sort of depends on how you read it, but it certainly is the case that the two characters decide they're in love with each other at some point. So it definitely it could be something that kind of ends on that higher note, like you see here. The word love kind of jumps up at the end in segment 10. So interesting to analyze and think about it this view without having to actually read the book. All right, so that's a bit about Voyant Tools. Okay, so if you're still watching, thanks for watching. I know this has gone on a little bit longer than normal, but I wanted to get through some things here. I'm going to go back after I upload this to YouTube and add timestamps so you can click on different things that I've demonstrated. If you have any questions about a particular thing, I might just point you to that timestamp, or I might be able to talk you through it. Troubleshooting channel and Discord is a good place to do that, or emails are okay, but the troubleshooting channel is a lot better because I can respond more quickly there. And also we can share files and even shift into the screen sharing if we need to look at something together. Okay, so try these things out. Let me know how it goes. Share your results in the share channel in Discord, and we'll see what I'll see what you can do. So tomorrow's stream, I'm going to be talking almost entirely about building your web page. So this will be HTML and CSS, the stuff that you're hopefully learning on your own with W3 Schools and or Code Academy. I'm going to teach it to you as well tomorrow, but I'm going to count on you having both of those learning methods in mind, that you've learned some on your own, you'll learn some more from me maybe, and between those two you'll be successful. You really need to do both, so don't count on, like, I'm going to have to move quickly tomorrow to get you to the point where you can complete it, or to get to the point where I can explain the parts that you need to do to complete the assignment. So I'm counting on the fact that it'll be something you've seen before tomorrow. Basically, that's my assumption. Okay, so that's about all I need to say for today. Let me switch over to my outro scene. I did use a screenshot from Fifth Element today. I think it's the 25th anniversary of Fifth Element. That's why it's been showing up in my newsfeed a lot. Okay, well, there's the music, which means I'm wrapping things up for today. If you have any questions, of course, you hopefully know how to reach out and get in touch and ask me your questions, and I look forward to hearing from you. So that's it for me. Have a good day.